Hi guys, welcome back. All right, Saggies, let's take a look at what is hidden from Sag right now. And I will say it has been very interesting. Each zodiacs have very different vibes. Okay, we have Aquarius energy. This energy is freedom loving, rebellious, idealistic, and technological. So let's see how that's going to apply here. Okay, if something like that has been hidden from Sag, it could be Sag doesn't realize that their computer system can do more than what they thought. It could be that Sag is about to tap into some kind of unknown, previously unknown function, or maybe they're going to discover that they have a real aptitude for technological type, jobs and things that are based in more modern technologies. But there's also that energy of like, I always look at this as, and these people are at like this awesome rave and they're like dancing all night and just totally blowing off steam and having a really good time. Maybe it's techno music, maybe somebody's going to discover they're a great shuffle dancer or something. We have the sun. There's definitely something beautiful, something positive that has been hidden. This could be something that I don't think Sag knew they were going to enjoy so much. Right now it's looking like something where it's crowd oriented, music oriented, fun loving oriented. It's something that they didn't know they would enjoy to this extent. That sun also, though, does have Seven of Cups, Five of Pentacles. Um, this is something that Sag didn't even know they needed. They didn't know that they needed like a fun loving community around them. I almost think Sag has gone through some losses in their life. They have had relationships that didn't work out, or they've had people that didn't turn out to be true blue friends or lovers. And for a while, I wonder if Sag was like not aware that they were missing the feeling of either community, like-minded, people to interact with, or some kind of like, I'm going to say loneliness that they didn't even know they were experiencing until they discover something that is a hobby or something that they enjoy doing. And it could very well bring them to someone who, if this isn't Sag themselves, they could discover that they meet somebody, possibly a Leo, who is a protector, a defender, somebody who is very open hearted, very clear. I almost think that what Sag didn't realize they were missing was A, some fun, and B, some fire and spice and everything nice from either somebody that is warm and genuinely friendly and genuinely would have their back, and somebody that has like no guile in them. I feel like Sag is going to wind up meeting a new group because of a new hobby. And I think they're going to realize I didn't know how much I needed this. And to boot, I'm meeting someone that particularly just makes me feel welcomed. The Wheel of Fortune is here. I kind of think Sag is finding their community, their people, and maybe it is through like a techno dance club. I always laugh and say, I'm a big like fan of the Voids, and at some point I will be at a Voids concert, and I'll let y'all know when that happens. Because if you're fellow Voids fans, I'll see you in the crowd. We'll probably dance it out together. It's sometimes when like a common like interest draws people together for a fun reason. It's like, oh, this is so awesome. It's like everybody's here having a good time for the same reason. And God, if this is Sag needed that. They needed, even without realizing it, they needed something fun, something that totally restores what they've been missing out on. I don't know that Sag really had a group of people around them they could identify with. They might have always felt like, I'm in this environment where I have colleagues, I have friends, but none of them quite like the same exact stuff that I do. I mean, again, maybe this is like a techno thing, techno dancing. That could be. But I mean, if you're going to an all night rave, that's going to be a particular group of friends that are like, yeah, let's stay up all night and dance. Personally, I'm way too old for that. Love concerts, not so much the raves. I got to be in bed at like 2:30 in the morning. I turn into a little pumpkin. Okay, a big pumpkin, but all of this just says, I think Sag is not even going to have realized how much they've needed this friendship, this warmth. But this is the time of their life where they're actually leaning more toward people that are more like-minded. With that Wheel of Fortune, we're going to say it is high time that Sag actually has companionship around them. Okay. So that makes sense. We had arguments and fights, maybe because I don't know. I keep getting this vibe that Sag was in a relationship with somebody who was very mismatched. Maybe this person was way more uptight because I see Sag as kind of like a, well, come on, freedom loving, little rebellious spirit, little like fun, more progressive, maybe more outgoing in some respects. And I'm wondering if Sag was around not just one person, but maybe a collection of people that were much more like stiff. This is how we must do things. This is how it must be done. Someone that I think Sag had a lot of conflict with. It looks like it was not very comfortable for a while. And I think without realizing it, even if Sag loved this person and Sag respected this person, and Sag could have been devastated over a relationship that didn't work out. It's like, oh, we had so much conflict. We had so many problems. Maybe Sag even was like, I wish I could be more of what they wanted me to be, but I don't really know how, or I don't really know what isn't clicking between myself and this person that I admire, that I like. But I kind of feel like Sag was with somebody who was stuffy. I don't I don't know. I keep getting Sag is kind of coming across as a more passionate divine feminine who actually has always like had to suppress some of their more artistic nature, their more passionate nature, their more fun-loving nature in order to match with admittedly a great King of Swords. I'm not saying this King of Swords was trying to stomp out Saggy's identity, but I almost wonder if deep down Sag kind of always knew that what they were really hungry for was someone that was more like this, more like the sun, somebody who was just a little bit more vocal, a little bit more um, expressive, emotive, somebody that would jump up and, wrap Sages in their warm arms and be like, come on, babe, I got you. I'm going to protect you. Somebody who was just a little bit more vocal instead of someone who is so by the book, prim and proper, possibly a little ice cold, um, rationalizes and reasons things out very well, but holds back a lot of emotion, or even expected Sag to display less emotion and more logic. And I almost think that's not the best match for Sag. In this fictional story, this Sag is, you see the wolf and the dog happily sitting here together howling at the moon. I kind of think Sag would prefer the warmer, more outgoing, more emotional, protective, you know, um, sunlight. Just somebody who's got so much sunlight, somebody who's a little bit more adventurous, because I kind of think that's a huge component of Saggy's nature as well. And I think that they had been previously matched with the wrong partner. And I think although Sag might have said, I don't want to fight with them, I know that they're brilliant, so I tended to subdue who I was and act more like them, but I'm really not that stuffy. Even though they're great, I'm not insulting that King of Swords, but honestly, maybe deep down, I wish I had a partner that was a little bit more wild and passionate and laughed a little too loud sometimes, and could stand up and dance and do groovy dance moves when the mood strikes them. That is not this King of Swords would never have stood up and started doing groovy little dance moves, or maybe even cracked inappropriate jokes. Or I just feel like Sagittarius was somebody who was not very lighthearted, and what has been hidden from them for a while is that this is who they were destined to end up with. Somebody who is polar opposite of that King of Swords. Look, again, we can say the King of Swords was lovely. There's a lot of beautiful qualities in them. They just weren't really the right match for Sag. And I think Sag didn't fully embrace or fully recognize until now that this Wheel of Fortune is here. It's a new era in Saggy's life where it makes more sense that they want to laugh more, love more. I feel like they got a great kisser on the horizon. And I have to say, if you're going to pick between a king or a major arcana, this is a real exciting major arcana. This is not to insult the king, though. It really isn't. But I have to say, Saggy's life is about to be a lot more fun, a lot more. It still is grounded. It still is a life or a love story with somebody who will be a stable influence. They just do life in a more extroverted manner. We have the Magician and we have the Nine of Swords in the reverse. I think it's going to be awesome because I think Sag is going to be like radically accepted by this new lover. Same with radically accepted by this group of friends, this community around them. I'm going to say this could be like the equivalent of, let's just give a scenario. Let's say Sag, was born, raised, lived, and worked and met a partner, all of whom were very like committed, dedicated to like, you know, we we don't like branch out too much. You know, we work in, let's say, and not to say this is boring, but let's say it's a family of bookkeepers, and so we crunch numbers, and then Sag marries or dates somebody who's also an accountant, a bookkeeper, a number cruncher, and that's an exacting thing, right? Your numbers have to add up. They all have to be correct. And let's say Sag is more artistic, but they also have that mind where they're really good with numbers as well. But let's say they're a little bit more of the abstract mind as well. Let's say Sag is a little bit more like physicist mind, quantum physics. You're still working with numbers, but you're also working with abstract ideas. And let's say the people around Sag's world they don't take that leap. They can't go to the physics aspect. They can just, they deal with just the numbers, and the more imaginative, exploratory way that we can work with numbers would not cross their mind, nor would they be very comfortable in it, and they see no application for it. So why are you bothering with that? That could be a way that Sag could both identify with somebody who's great, but also simultaneously never quite feel like they belong. Now Sag is meeting somebody, and maybe they got nothing to do with numbers. Maybe they are somebody who's like, hey, you crunch the numbers, Sag, and then, I'll jump up and apply it, but I'm more of a doer than the action taker. You can be the visionary. But like this works better for Sag, somebody who doesn't make them feel like they're somehow too free when you need to just sit down and crunch those numbers and don't think in the abstract and don't think in the physics way. I believe Sag finally feels like, oh my God, I have somebody who doesn't judge me for both crunching numbers, but also being more of a physics mind. It's really great not to feel like an outsider anymore. It's really great that this new person actually totally accepts me for what I am. I don't have to surrender what I can already do, but I also don't have to feel embarrassed or feel misunderstood anymore. Because this person doesn't freaking care. This person just likes me. They enjoy my company. I enjoy theirs. It's just what I've been trying to manifest. And I want to be able to explore that dreamier, more visionary side of me, especially with this Magician. It could also be, I'm picturing Sag as somebody who maybe is interested in other forms of like spirituality, or maybe literally like fringe science stuff. Maybe they want to see if they can learn to levitate. Maybe they're interested in, again, the sci-fi aspect of things. And maybe that wasn't permitted in the previous relationship or lifestyle that they were in, or the group that they were surrounded by. It's like, why would we watch sci-fi movies? That's stupid. Let's watch documentaries. Look, I love documentaries, not knocking them. I'm just saying, I think that Sag had to surrender a lot of their, like I say, their physics mind in order to just crunch numbers, for an example. And yet Sag is much more visionary, much more broad than that. So I think that, interestingly enough, what has been hidden is going to come to the surface for Sag, which is, as a relationship ends with someone that was nice, with the King of Swords that was, honorable and good in many ways, but was still not the right match for Sag. I think Sag is going to find their true partnership, mostly because it's at a time of their life where they recognize, I want the freedom to express everything and explore and, create and, expand in that physics way, or that sci-fi-esque way, or that visionary way, and not kind of be judged for it. I don't want to be made to feel stupid, or like I shouldn't say that, because they'll immediately tell me why that's stupid to have a dream or to think outside the box. This new person, they don't even believe in boxes. And I think that's the person that Sag is going to be so much happier with. I think this has been something Sag has known in themselves for a long time, but it just never come to the forefront until now. I am so cheering for this Sag. It's like hidden aspects of their own personality trait are coming to the surface, and it all will click and make sense as to why they were always meant to be with this very warm, very fun-loving, very non-judgmental romantic partner that is up ahead. So I don't know, it's Destination Leo on this one. You guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Lots of love. Bye.